Hi there, and welcome to the 200 Word Challenge. I'm Dom Trainer. I'm Adobe's Education Evangelist, and I'm joined today by Lee Ben, the famous Lee Ben. How are you, Lee?
Very well, Dom. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Good man. So tell us a little bit about what you teach and what school you're at.
So I'm teacher of English, probably specialise in English literature at Sheffield Springs Academy in Sheffield, obviously. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, good man. And for the 200 Word Challenge, what challenge did you actually decide to use?
I chose to do the one that was on monarchy.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen very, very quickly. So you chose the monarchy one. This one here, should there be monarchies? There's all sorts of ones that you can choose. There's a veganism one. There's about 15 in total: junk food, healthy food, renewable energy, public transportation, blah, blah, blah. You can go through and have a look at those yourself. But Lee chose this should there be monarchies one. So we're going to check out the Spark page to have a look at the challenge in more detail. So how it works is you watch the first video, gives you some context on the kind of things that you should be thinking about. There's a writing template that you can download here as well to structure your answer. And then you tackle the questions one by one. So you've got one question here, second one there, third one, and fourth one. Okay, now you can do this as a 200 word challenge, or of course you can up the word count if you need to, or lower the word count if you need to. Whatever you need to do is absolutely fine. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by going to spark.adobe.com. We're going to press the plus in the top left. Going to go down to web page, and we're going to start by creating a Spark page for Lee's answer to the 200 word monarchy challenge. So if we start off here, and I'll just put a really standard title in monarchies, and it's Lee Ben, double N, isn't it?
Yeah, double M.
Okay, good man.
Remember it.
And I'll start off by putting a little header image in this kind of gray space here. So I'll press the plus, go to photo, just make it look nice, search for a free photo. And if we just put something like Queen, something like that. There we go. That one works for me. If that works for you, Lee.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Looks good.
Top man. All right. So in terms of themes, I'm going to choose one of my favorite themes, which dictates kind of like the formatting and things like that. I'll choose Chris today. Why not? I'm in a Chris mood. So here we've got your 200 words that you wrote here. How did you find it, Lee?
I found it good. Yeah, there's so much to talk about on this subject that I think the issue with me was being concise. But yeah, I thought it was a really good challenge.
I did notice you got over your 200 words, but you won't be in detention, not today. Right, so we're going to go on to Lee's first kind of question and response here. So I'm going to choose a split layout, just make it easy for myself. It means I can have an image on one side, text on another. So we're going to press the plus button here, add in some text. Here we go. Now, just before we get Lee to talk about the things that he wrote and why he wrote it in the way he did, I think I'll change the formatting of this question so it stands out a little bit more. H2, header 2, maybe not. That one's better. I like that one better. Okay, and on the left-hand side, maybe actually you're talking about a cup of tea there. So let's go with this one here. And there we go. There's also someone reading a book, which is probably what Lee does when he's having a cup of tea. So, Lee, are monarchies relevant in today's society? What did you write?
Well, I was talking, like I said, you mentioned the cup of tea reference there. I basically wanted to situate it in something that everyone knew and understood to be British. So I talked about the idea of a cup of tea as something that really symbolized that, and it's something that's really familiar and comfortable with people.
Yeah.
And I talked about a couple of symbols. So I talked about a cup of tea, as I've said. I also talked about a Union Jack, and those are the kind of things that we understand to be British. And I really wanted to open it with those symbols of Britishness and to really question whether the monarchy was something that really reflected what Britishness was, I suppose.
Right. And you've also got, despite this, a loud and growing number of people wish to oversee the abolition of this much cherished institute. Talk about some of the choices you made in this kind of section here.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do, I suppose I wanted to use a little bit of a shock factor or a surprise. And I basically keep my opinion quite unclear for the first maybe 6 lines or so. And it's only really in the final line that I actually decided to say, here is why they're absolutely right to do so. I showed my hand there. It's something that I think you see quite often in newspapers and magazine articles, certainly. And it's something that I thought would be quite effective here.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it kind of, it's very direct, isn't it? I mean, you really, like you say, you're showing your hand, you're absolutely telling the reader, this is how you're going to go. So you've been kind of, I suppose you've been kind of sat on the fence for the first bit and then just really
absolutely
direct out at the end. Yeah, Absolutely. Okay, cool. So we got that first section there. Let's go on now. You got it. This is a meaty one here. So let's have a look here. Now copy that. Go back to our Spark page here. Now I'm going to scroll down. You get this option coming up. I'll do another split layout here, and I think I'll add in some text. Now you've got we've got our question at the top here, and now just for formatting's sake, I'll put that in the quote format as well. You can see we used it in the first question. We're using it in the second question, and here you've kind of split your idea up into kind of 3 sections here.
Yeah.
So give us an image that we could look for on the right hand side, just to kind of
I suppose this one's about money and tourism. So I suppose anything to do with either of those headings would be good. I think probably tourism would be the better one.
Okay, cool.
Or even a museum or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to look really. There's kind of we were kind of I'm kind of thinking bunches of people and stuff like that. Really.
Yeah, crowds. That'd be good.
Maybe maybe I put museum, something like that. Yeah, there's always a bit of maybe this one here. This idea. I mean, I know that's a museum. That is a British museum, that one, isn't it? Okay, cool, fine. So talk us through some of the things, and I will highlight them as you're talking about them. So you got this first section, argument supporting monarchy.
So the argument supporting monarchy part, I was basically trying to acknowledge the arguments in favour of monarchy, but also show my opinion again. So, for instance, I call them tired arguments, which I really try and criticise the arguments as something that's peddled out, but isn't necessarily really very powerful or relevant anymore, I suppose. That also gives a bit of a hint about what I'm going to say about tourism a little bit later on in this part. I did also a little bit of research myself and looked up some statistics. So you can see there's claims of 2.7 million visitors. And the claims are the 1.8 billion pounds generated. Now, sorry, have I interrupted you there? Go on.
No, I was going to say, well, that's important, isn't it, for the reader, isn't it? Because it shows that you're an authority on this, or you've done your research, and that's important, isn't it, to include facts and figures?
Exactly. And for this bit, I was really trying to use the idea of facts and figures and using logic, the idea of logos, and speaking to minds rather than hearts, I suppose.
Right.
I also really wanted it to look like I wasn't just assassinating the other side. I was taking it on board.
Careful language choice.
Well, yeah, poor language choice. That's very true. But I basically wanted to talk about how those arguments actually can seem quite powerful and convincing. But then I wanted to question that, and that's where that rhetorical question comes at the end. Does this tell the whole story?
Right. Okay. Yeah. And they've also you've done this thing of same old tired arguments, and then you put claims of 2.7. So you're actually saying maybe this isn't actually true. So you're kind of casting doubt on it as well, aren't you?
100%. And there's various different facts and figures that are always used to support any argument. So yeah, being critical and skeptical is important.
And then you got in this second bit here, and you start off quite emphatically, don't you? Talk us through
this. Linking to what I did in the first paragraph, I suppose, when I was very direct and clearly stating my opinion at the start of the piece. Again, I wanted to keep that up because this is such a topic where people have such powerful opinions. I wanted to be clear in expressing mine. And I wanted to, in this little section here, introduce what I was going to be talking about as almost like a compromise position, I suppose. So acknowledging that even though the money aspect of it is important, the financial implications are important, that there's a suggestion there. So it's not just me tearing that argument down, it's also me putting an opinion across and an idea forward.
Right. Okay. So you're kind of, so you're not just trying to, I see what you're trying to do. You're not just trying to like completely consign it to the rubbish heap. You're saying, why don't we modify it in some way?
Yeah.
And is that what this third paragraph is about then?
That's exactly what that's about. So there I say consigning the monarchy to history would open up new opportunities. So it's not just about being doom and gloom, saying that the monarchy needs to go for X, Y, and Z reason. It's actually about, look, this could be a really positive move for us. And again, using the statistics there with museums kind of 8 out of 10 of the top UK tourist destinations.
Is that true, is it? So that's what you found from your research?
That's what I found from my research. So, I mean, I can only reel off a few museums that I would understand go to myself in London. Hopefully I've not fallen foul to fake news or anything there, but yeah.
Well, it's important to acknowledge that, yeah.
That's it, yeah. It's not just being made up. It's from somewhere, I assure you. And then obviously the final bit.
Here, haven't you?
Yeah, I've made a little bit of a pun there. So the royal attractions reigning supreme within the tourism industry. It's I suppose that's just to sound clever and be and be relevant and linked to the topic. But yeah, I really
sounded clever to me. I like
that's
it.
okay. I'll take it. If it sounded clever to someone, then it must be effective. But yeah, I think the statistic there is probably the most potent
Yeah.
method, because I've linked it to the statistics I used earlier and said, look,
Mm.
the stats show that obviously tourism and the monarchy are important, but also the statistics all show that there's a way forward without the monarchy as well.
Right. Good. I like the way you've done that. Okay. Right. Is it fair for a royal family to receive money from a country's taxes? So let's copy this one. Let's go back to our Spark page. And actually, what I might do for this last section is go to a glide show rather than a split layout, just for a bit of variety. Now, what I need to do for that is just decide 2 photos for this section that you can see highlighted, and also for this last section as well. So maybe what kind of image could we go for in this third paragraph here?
This is quite a tough one because this is quite an
Yeah,
abstract one, and so I suppose the actual heading itself is about taxation. So you'd be assuming it's
yeah,
about money. I almost dodge the issue a little bit and talk about
yeah,
democracy.
yeah. Okay,
So
well, democracy is a good one. We can go for that. And then in this one, history books.
history books, yeah. So
We'll go
something
for
to
that.
do with
Okay.
that.
Okay, so let's go for democracy. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, it's all USA stuff
Oh,
here.
American, of course it is.
Yeah, let's go for voting. Oh, not voting, voting. Okay, maybe we can
More
go.
interested, yeah.
Is that okay for you? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I'm fine with that. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and then the other one was history book. I wonder if
Yeah, it's got to be some good stuff on this.
yeah, well, exactly. I think the top one would be fine. And
Yeah.
maybe that looks
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
old. Is that right with you?
Nice. Like it.
Great. Okay, fine. So now that we've got that, we can go back and take our third sort of answer to the third question that leaded there, pop it in here, text, paste it in, go back to the top and make sure that this one is a quote format so that we can see it all. Right. What have you done here? Talk us through it, please.
So I suppose the first thing I've done, which was maybe a little bit cheeky, was to dodge the issue of taxation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to put across what I thought was the key point. Now, I suppose
Okay.
crucial to that is actually having a link there. So at the start, we put setting the issue of taxation aside. So I have acknowledged the topic, I suppose, but I wanted to talk about the democratic cost instead. So I'm using the language of finances and money to link it there. But I'm also saying, look, I think the idea of a democratic cost is more important than a financial one.
Right.
So yeah, I think despite being a little bit cheeky, I've tried to link it there as best I can.
All good. Yeah.
I suppose the really powerful thing here is I said before about how I was using facts and figures to speak logically to people, whereas this is really the opposite of that. This is much more emotional, a little bit of use of
Right.
pathos, and that's achieved through the use of repetition more than anything else.
Tell us about pathos.
So the pathos, instead of logos, which speaks to the mind, pathos is more about speaking to the heart and to the
Right.
emotions,
Mm-hmm.
awakening a feeling of anger or injustice or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I achieved that here. So it's I say this is a system in which right is based on birth, not merit.
Okay.
Again, using that repetition to build it. A system in which who you are matters more than what you can do. A system in which certain positions of privilege are reserved for the haves, not the have-nots. And also complementing the repetition, you've got contrast. So birth and merit. So a very clear contrast there.
Yeah.
Who you are more than what you can do,
Mm-hmm.
haves and have not. So yeah, I
Right.
think that's
Well, I mean,
seeking to build that.
that's probably the most powerful paragraph so far, I would say.
Well, I say that's what pathos kind of achieves. It's about building that sense of indignation and injustice and unfairness, I suppose. So
Right.
yeah, I've gone for it there.
Blimey. You're safe in your job. You've done a cracking job there. And then you've
Cheers.
ended here. What have you done?
Rhetorical question. I sat and drafted this question a lot, trying to think of what the best way of putting this was. And I reflected on really, in a modern nation where we often talk about values and what we hold personally is important. And again, the idea of what is Britishness at the start with the cup of tea, with the Union Jack, I really wanted to just reflect that in what I said here. Is this really something that reflects our values in modern Britain?
Mm. Yeah, because you could have said, is this really a system which reflects the values of modern Britain? But actually that bit where you've got reflects the values we hold dear. And that's, really kind of stoking the fire there, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think this is when you use that language of we hold dear, it makes it a little bit more personal. So it's not just about as a nation what symbols we hold, but as individuals, it makes us question whether the nation reflects what we actually believe ourselves.
Right, got you. Okay, nice. And then let's let's round it off with this fourth one here. So if you scroll down, it will glide from that image to this one here.
Nice.
And then, yeah, and then I'll pop in this text here. I'll change the formatting to the quote there. And then, so do you believe your country should have a monarchy or not, and why? Off you go.
So I wanted to really tie the beginning and the end together. So it might seem pretty random to some, but I went on about the idea of a cup of tea and really linking that as a British symbol. And I tried to use a bit of an extended metaphor, I suppose, where it was the case that just as every British cup of tea comes to an end, also some things in our tradition and heritage also have to come to an end, despite the fact they might have given enjoyment at some point.
Right, and
So
you've
that
also
was
used that system there again as well as the tea. You've also brought system back in.
exactly repeating it, and also being really powerful and straightforward with the argument of saying it's outdated, not sitting on the fence, choosing a side and really dedicating it to it. And then I tried to think of quite a trite, simple way of putting it at the end. And I wanted to, again, use something powerful. I didn't really want to use logos or logic. I wanted to, again, speak to emotion. So I think I achieved that at the end by saying, as a modern nation, which again, I repeat quite a lot, the word modern, we've simply moved past the need for kings and queens. So keeping my argument really simple, not obscuring it in any way with any logic or anything clever, just simple words. And the final line really just summarizes what I wanted to say in an image. So in the modern day, monarchs belong not in our palaces, a symbol of the royalty, but in our history books, something that we need to learn about and understand, but not necessarily live in the present.
Wow, that's a cracking that's a cracking final paragraph, I must say. So you've got so you've repeated the T from the first paragraph, or was it first? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, right at the opening.
And then system was in your paragraph, or answer the question 3 or 2, I can't remember which one. And then you've got modern, so as a modern nation, and then in the modern day.
Yeah.
And then I like that. Monarchs belong not in our palaces, but in our history books. That's a superb paragraph. Well done.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so just before I'm going to present this and have a look what it all looks like, I think I'm actually going to change this image here because I feel like, having sort of gone through your work, I feel like we should choose something different. So I'm going to select it and edit photos, and here I'm going to go for something like birth. Maybe something like, just because that idea of like when you're born, you know, what does that entitle you to? So I think, I think I'll just go for like a simple baby there, and then, or maybe I'll go to this one, replace this one. That'll be a better idea, and go for there.
Might reinforce that idea of emotion as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. Let me see if this will work. There we go, that's better. And then I'll take this one, delete it, save it. There we go. And then just with this idea of like, in this system which right is based on birth, not merit. So, it could be any kind of, baby, and, a have or a have not, depending on where you're born into. So let's scroll up to the top. Let's present it, see how it looks. Give it a second to load. There we go, Monarchies by Lee Ben. First one. We've got things like, point out some of the high level things just one more time for us. What have you got in this one?
I think the thing that I set up here is the symbolism, the cup of tea and the Union Jack, reflecting on what's associated with Britain as a really powerful image and how they have endured, I suppose.
Yeah, and then that you're setting up at the end. Here is why they are absolutely right to do so. So you're making no bones about where you're going from this point forward.
Really clear path forward.
Cool. Next one is monarchy of force for good. What have you done here?
Again, really speaking to minds here with the use of logos and logic.
Love that.
The statistics, the facts that I've really tried to build an argument for. In fact, actually, to start with, I build the argument for monarchy, and then I try and dismantle that a little bit and post something new using statistics of my own in the final paragraph in that section.
Yeah, and that idea of it's easy to imagine these royal attractions reigning supreme within the tourism industry. What was that an example of again?
Again, that cheap little pun that I've used there, the word reigning linking to the idea of royalty.
Hey, don't cheapen yourself. That was good, that one. Don't cheapen yourself. And then we've got, is it fair for a royal family to receive money from a country's taxes? What have you done here?
So again, this was, where I basically tried to make this a really powerful emotive section of the piece.
The pathos rather than the logos.
Again, it could have been something that I used logos for, talking about taxation. I thought, as you've referenced there, the use of pathos, speaking to emotions through repetition and contrasts, really building a tone of kind of injustice, indignation, anger.
Right.
some ways.
And
And
that
getting,
idea of you've got that system,
yeah,
and then you've also done this kind of birth, not merit.
yeah, the contrast, the juxtaposition of,
Yeah, okay.
I suppose the
Using the
system
big
as well,
words.
you've been drawing the idea of a system where it doesn't seem very personal
Yeah.
or humane. So
Mm.
it's almost like we're being done to by a system rather than a group of people deciding what's better.
Right. Got yeah.
Maybe
And then you ended with this rhetorical question as well.
yeah, getting us all to reflect on what we hold as our own values and whether that's reflected correctly.
Yeah. And then this last one, talk us through again. This is the absolute killer paragraph.
Yeah, this is almost like the icing on the cake, I suppose, the cherry on top, where I'd try and link everything at the end to what I'd said at the start, making it a really well put together, well formed piece, tight and something that has purpose. So
Mm.
I linked the symbol of the cup of tea and said, look, just as every cup of tea we enjoy at the time must come to an end, to reflect that extended metaphor, reflecting my opinion on monarchy, where it maybe had use at one point, it was enjoyed at one point, but isn't anymore. And as we've said, the final line really, I tried to land a bit of a killer blow, almost like a knockout blow in a boxing match. In the modern day, monarchs belong not in our palaces, but in our history books. The idea of the palaces as a symbol of a thriving monarchy, which shouldn't be in place anymore. They should instead be studied and learned about in something that's maybe appreciated, but now past.
Right. Top skills. Love it. So now that we've got that, I'm just going to share it by publish and sharing the link. I just create the link there. And then we can copy that, and then you can send that out via Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is, or just send that link to whoever you need to. Lee, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And I think it's probably time to go and get a cup of tea ourselves, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. Hopefully it won't come to an end too soon now.
All right. Thanks, Lee. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.